reaction on these ideas, a couple of ideas that have been mentioned, which I think are very, very interesting. When you talk about the idea of supply chains, I think that we should also keep an eye on this, let's say, super consumer, which is the government, which something about 30% of GDP. And so the public procurement policies are something that should be for sure prioritized, and has a lot to do with, let's say, showing a clear sign out to society and to industry where things are moving to. And I'm glad to see that in Brazil we have some concrete movements in this direction. This is, I would say, one of the best parts of Brazil that have been developing towards the green economy. We have some legislation changes, we have some efforts looking to indicators of what can be seen as a more sustainable product or service, and thus bring these things in consideration when you move forward. So I think it's something that we really should pay a lot of attention. The second bit, talking about the capacity building that you asked, Alexander, I think that the capacity building, when it comes to green economy, has a lot to do with entrepreneurship, innovation, and about empowering citizens. It's not capacity building, let's say, in traditional terms. When you, let's say, teach people how to produce something in a better way, but rather I think that it's the case of really encouraging people and providing this support that the innovators need to really move forward and to overcome the obstacles that are there. Because business is very pragmatic, are very pragmatic. And a company that has a lot of money invested and has some loans in the bank that will require some growth in the next 5 or 10 or 15 years to pay the ROI they have already embedded in the long-term finance, they will not change. Unless you change the financial mechanism behind it, which is a sort of mechanism that's needed as well. But of course, these guys are already entrenched in a stake, and they will be very, very reluctant to change. So we need to put our chips in something that is raising and the new things that will grow. And for instance, for me, the solution for urban mobility will not come from the automotive industry. I think that these guys have been very reluctant to change. They're changing as less as possible to keep their own model, but cities are crowded. There's no place to put cars anymore. And this guy is still willing to say something that will sell something that will be, let's say, parked 20 hours out every 24, which is crazy. And so this is their business model. So someone will come from outside and change the game. And that's the thing that we should invest in this kind of capacity building. And last comment very directly, which is things about investments. I think that in Brazil we have one interesting mechanism in the stock exchange market about identifying differentiated companies towards sustainability, but we still lack something which is very important, which is some kind of assessment tool for the long term. So someone in a long-term investment, like this social security funds and things like that, these guys are lost. They have to put their money in something that you know it's going the wrong direction, but you don't have any means to measure what's going the right direction, so you can put your money on it. And so they are trapped in that. I was talking to the president of the biggest Brazilian security fund 5 days ago in a debate like this, and he firmly believes what is sustainable investment, but he doesn't have the tools to make the decision, and he is accountable to a lot of constituencies. So the guy is trapped. So we need to invest in something that will allow these people to really move away from this trap.
We have a couple of gentlemen for intervention, but maybe we can.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I would like to particularly endorse Aaron and Kay their observations. You know, the big dilemma, and I see the point about the supply chain. The question is, anything that is labeled green in much of Africa tends to be more expensive than most others, right? And in a context where household income is a challenge, it's going to be very difficult to shift people. And I think that's why the idea that has emanated about public policy and the structure of incentives is absolutely important in this regard. We cannot run away from it, because that's where I think the combination of public policy and private initiative, innovation and all will come together in a way that will be meaningful for an inclusive system of development. Now, with regard to questions of capacity, I agree that the emphasis on it cannot be the old type of approaches to capacity development, and the emphasis on innovation quite clearly suggests itself. And here again, I find as something quite positive a movement across the continent of Africa, especially in South Africa, to try to rediscover indigenous knowledge systems, which generally have tended to be more benign with regard to the environment. And the example of China is often cited on the continent as one which Africa might to emulate in this regard. Not so much using Chinese indigenous knowledge, but African indigenous knowledge, and systematizing it in a way in which China has done.
Okay, we have 3 interventions. If you just say